Good evening. It is 5 p.m. and this is Today in YGK on CFRC 101.9 FM, broadcasting from Lower Carruthers Hall on Queen's Campus in Kingston, Ontario. Today in YGK is brought to you by your CFRC News Collective, Ara Macaulay, Jessie Bell, and Jenny Hinch. CFRC's news programming is made possible by the generous support of the Community Radio Fund of Canada, the Local Journalism Initiative, Queen's University Career Services, and for our podcasts, Smith Engineering at Queen's University. I'm CFRC's broadcast journalist, Ara Macaulay, and here are your local news headlines. A new exhibition that opened on June 20th in the Market Wing Cultural Space at City Hall aims to celebrate and explore Kingston's musical history from prior to the city's establishment to today's local artists. The Music from Miles Around exhibition takes an ambitious approach to capturing the sound of Kingston, encompassing the evolution of musical creation in the city across generations and genres, as well as exploring the impact of radio, record culture, festivals, live music, and today's creative scene. The city aims to showcase the people, places, and moments that wrote Kingston's music history through archival materials, artifacts, personal stories, immersive experiences, and interactive elements. CFRC spoke with City Curator Melissa Cruz about what visitors can expect at this free year-long exhibit. Melissa, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
This seems like a very ambitious project. You're going as far back as you can.
As far back as we can, yes. So we start in what we call the roots, and it's really, we speak to how there was music here well before settlers arrived from Europe, how the Huron-Wendat peoples, the Anishinaabe, all of the indigenous peoples were here, and there was a musical tradition that long predated settler contact. We were very lucky that we were able to find the first written account from a European settler being in Kingston in 1792, writing about indigenous music and hearing it for the first time. And that's sort of where we start the entree into Kingston's music story. And it brings you all the way through to the music office today, and sort of celebrating and highlighting really Kingston's musical story, Kingston's amazing musical community, how incredibly robust and giving and caring the whole community is and has been for decades. And it's really been an amazing exploration of decades, if not centuries, of an amazing community here in Kingston.
How did you go about knowing where to start with this exhibition?
Had been talked about for years because we knew this anniversary is coming up. We always knew there was a very fulsome, robust story to tell, but we, of course, had very lovingly nestled into this year because it coincided with that 10-year anniversary of the Tragically Hip. So we reached out to the Tragically Hip's management team in January of 2025 and sort of started the conversation rolling with them very early on. But we also did quite a bit of research with Queen's University Archive. We worked through a lot of the directories. We're very lucky with the City of Kingston. We have our own civic collection. We're able to pull on a lot of items there. The Grand Theatre as well. We also have items in our collection that speak to kind of Kingston's music history already. So it was great. We were able to sort of pull on those stories. And then we reached out as well to other institutions like the Lennox and Addington Museum in Napanee, the Agnes Etherington Arts Centre, music historians here in Kingston. So Larry Stafford is one. He's been in the music industry essentially since birth. His father owned a music store. He himself owned a store and rented out equipment, and he himself has been in bands and he's still playing. And he's our little local historian. He's a collector of amazing photographs from over the years. And it's really been this amazing community. Everyone was more than happy to give us stories, provide us with photos, content, vinyl records, old posters. We were able to sort of dive in, and it's been a year and a half of exploration, and the hardest part has been to determine what stories do we highlight, from reaching out to people like Sarah Harmer. She's a superstar, she and her management team were just like, no problem, what do you need? She found one of Joe Chitlin's hats to include in the exhibit because she knew we had a Joe's Jam space. So it's just been really beautiful. We always jokingly say we're sort of outsiders looking in, and we're just sort of dipping our toe in this community as curators, but it's been nothing but welcoming and utter excitement. We've had a handful of people come in and do sneak peeks. This should be here permanently, as a lot of people are saying, and can this go elsewhere? Can this have legs beyond this space? People are just so impressed with the stories that are there, and we were able to reach out to Zoe, who owns Pan Chancho, and Shay Piggy, and her dad, of course, was Zal, and he was part of the Lovin' Spoonfuls. And she very kindly has lent us his guitar and some of his awards and accolades that he received for all of the work he did in the music industry. It brings them right back to 1970, and they can hear his songs playing in their head. Or we were able to track down the guitar that Pete Townsend smashed when The Who played here in Kingston. So we have the smashed guitar from those concerts, and I think that's something that certain generations, I think, may have missed in Kingston for a little while, whereas, people in the 1960s, 1970s, a lot of them were coming through Queens, going to Jock Hardy and Grant Hall and that sort of thing. Is these amazing bands like Santana played here, and Peter Frampton, and The Who came, and Rush was here, and we hear all these amazing stories of bands coming through. Kingston in 1970 you didn't think was the hot spot, but we were in that perfect geographic sweet spot that if someone was playing in Toronto and heading to Montreal, it was that perfect spot to land and get an extra show in. And we're able to sort of highlight and celebrate that as well in those stories, and it's really bringing people back to their good old days. Like, we saw that in the early 1900s when the dance halls were humming in here in Kingston. You could go out every night and hear live music, and that's a tradition we've seen really carry forward. And it's kind of, we're creating good old days for a new generation almost.
How big is the space within City Hall?
So the space is approximately 2,300 square feet. We could probably fill easily 6,000 square feet with the stories we uncovered. The way you navigate the space is it is a bit of a timeline. So we start, as we said, in those roots, and you walk into the rise of popular music, the rise of radio. We were very, very lucky to partner with Joe's Mills, the musical instrument lending library that's at the Tet Center. So we have a space that we've called Joe's Jam Space. So you have an opportunity just to go sit in the space and relax and play a guitar or an accordion or a bongo drum or a keyboard. I think it really helps foster and highlight Kingston's music community, because we're anticipating we're going to have people that have been playing for decades sitting in that space jamming, and someone who's brand new, and it speaks to the Mills philosophy and Joe's philosophy of just music for everyone and providing access. And we really wanted to highlight that because I think it speaks to the core of Kingston's community.
So it sounds like a very multimedia display.
We're trying to have it as interactive as we can because we want it to be accessible for multiple generations, and I think it's just makes it more fun. It's fun to learn that way.
And speaking of accessible, there is no charge for this exhibit?
There is absolutely no charge. It is fully wheelchair accessible as well. We're trying to reduce and remove as many barriers as possible for this exhibition.
And how long is this exhibition going for?
The exhibition will be in for about a year.
Okay, excellent.
So there's ample opportunity for everyone to attend.
Make a jam space out of it. Maybe?
Exactly. Well, if you're out on a Thursday night, have dinner and then come on by and see the exhibit and play a guitar.
As the city marks 10 years since the Tragically Hip's final hometown concert on August 20th, 2016, the exhibition also aims to share never-before-seen artifacts, personal stories, and behind-the-scenes pieces connected to what they call Kingston's most iconic band. Hard to believe it's already been 10 years.
I know. It's one of those pivotal moments I find in a lot of not only Kingstonians' lives, but Canadians' lives of where were you, right? Because most people are able to tell you exactly where they were on that day, whether it's they're watching at home or I was at the concert. So a portion of the exhibition is anchored in that 10-year anniversary of the final concert that happened here in Kingston.
You've talked about a couple things that you were delightfully or pleasantly surprised to acquire for this. Do you have a favorite piece or a piece that you're most excited for people to see?
We have a very impressive trunk of guitars, plural, from the Tragically Hip, which we were able to go out to the bathhouse, and the band was incredibly generous. So those were very exciting to get. The Who guitar, the smashed Who guitar, was pretty cool to get. We had to sort of become detectives to get to the individual who actually owns that. In our collection, we have a beautiful piano that was made by the Wormwith Company, which is in where the old SNR building is. So we're always very happy to get that out on display because it's a really beautiful piece. I should also mention that we were able to reach out to Karen Ruiz, who owns Lilliput Hats in Toronto. She was the milliner for Gord Downey and made all of those incredibly impressive, iconic hats for him. And she very kindly has created a hat for us to have in the exhibition. And that hat will be raffled off, all proceeds going to the Downey Wenjack Fund. So that's a pretty impressive piece. We were welcomed into the home of Finney McConnell from the Mahones, and he has what can only be described as a personal archive. And he had posters and tickets dating back to the 1980s, like when he was in high school with all of the guys from the Tragically Hip as well. We were able to really uncover a lot of fun, impressive things.
Are there any items that you have collected that will become part of a permanent collection with the city?
No. We have quite a process of acquiring objects into our permanent collection, so we're very happy to have things on display and temporarily in our care, but we're also happy for them to go back to their respective homes. So.
You probably are not going to get another opportunity as a Kingstonian to see so much Kingston music history in one place at one time.
Exactly.
And if people want to go find out your hours of operation, how do they go about doing so?
All of the information is on the City of Kingston website, or cityofkingston.ca/MFMA, which stands for Music from Miles Around, which is we're sponsored by Empire Life as well. I'll do a plug for that. Our hours are Tuesday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30, with a late night on Thursdays till 7, and then Saturday and Sunday we are open 12 to 4.
That wraps up your headlines for this evening. Next up is Jessie Bell with your CFRC Sports Desk.
This is your sports report for Monday, June 22nd, brought to you by CFRC Power Plays. And the focus of this evening's sports report is on the Canadian men's national team and their performance at the 2026 World Cup. It was a victory over a century in the making for Canada's men's national soccer team as they blanked Qatar by a 6-0 margin. Kyle Larin scored the first goal of the game for the Canadians just 16 minutes in, his second goal of the tournament. Jonathan David would add one at 29 minutes, and then 3 minutes into first half stoppage time to make it 3-0 heading into the half. Nathan Saliba, subbing in for the injured Ismail Kone, scored at the 64th minute. Mohamed Manai from Qatar scored an own goal in the 75th, and then Jonathan David capped off his historic day with a hat-trick goal in the 90th minute to give Canada a definitive 6-0 victory, picking up their first ever win and actually moving them into first place in Table B thanks to the goal differential. The Canadians will play the second place team in the table, Switzerland, on Wednesday afternoon at 3 p.m., with the winner, or in the case of the Canadians, a tie being enough to advance Canada to the next round of World Cup competition, which of course would be the first time the Canadians have made it out of the opening round in program history. That's a wrap for your sports report brought to you by CFRC Power Plays. I hope you'll join us Wednesday night for a special interview with two Kingston-based Canadian Olympic hopefuls. In the meantime, however, I'll be taking you through your weather and traffic report for the Kingston region coming up next. This is your Environment Canada weather report for the Kingston region. Monday, June 22nd, 21 degrees is your high with a 40% chance of showers throughout the day and cloudy conditions, dropping down to 14 overnight. Tuesday, June 23rd, 25 degrees is your high with a mix of sun and cloud, clearing up overnight with a low of 13. Wednesday, June 24th, 24 degrees is your high with a mix of sun and cloud, dropping down to 13 overnight with a 30% chance of precipitation. Thursday, June 25th, 25 is your high with a 40% chance of rain, dropping down to 14 overnight with a 30% chance of showers. That 30% stays consistent into Friday, June 26th. 23 is your high, and it's going to drop down to about 13 overnight. Moving into the final weekend in June, Saturday, June 27th, 22 will be your high with an 80% chance of precipitation, feeling closer to 24 degrees, dropping down to 14 overnight. Sunday, June 28th, beautiful day after a couple days of rain, sunny conditions. 23 is your high, feeling closer to 26, dropping down to 15 overnight. And then kicking off next week, Monday, June 29th, 25 is your high with a 55% chance of rain and cloudy conditions otherwise, dropping down to 17 overnight. This is your City of Kingston traffic report for the week. Expect delays on Bath Road from Sir John A. Macdonald Boulevard to Portsmouth Ave for the installation of intersection pedestrian signals. The city is installing IPS at several locations to make it easier and safer for pedestrians to cross busy roads. IPS are being installed at the following intersections: Bath Road at Lafleur Park, Concession Street at Kings Court Avenue, and Stephen Street at Patrick Street. Wright Crescent at Palace Road is closed for a contractor to complete roadway repairs, pedestrian safety and access improvements, and traffic calming features on Wright Crescent. Starting June 15th, Norman Rogers Drive from Sir John A. Macdonald Boulevard to Van Order Drive is closed to through traffic to facilitate roadway rehabilitation and configuration improvements. This work will improve road condition, accessibility, and safety for all road users, including students, families, and local residents. Berry Street to Queen is closed for construction-related activity at 283 Queen Street. Aberdeen Street from Johnson to William is closed to accommodate construction activity and staging. And worth noting that select areas of downtown near the King Street East and West sections will be closed for the FIFA Canada Celebrates event at Springer Market Square on June 27th to the 28th. Coming up next, we've got Genevieve Hinch with CFRC's concert and events calendar.
Hello, Kingston, and welcome back to CFRC 101.9 FM, broadcasting from Kingston, Ontario. I'm CFRC's Community News and Arts Coordinator, Jenny, and this is your weekly events and concerts calendar brought to you by Flying V Productions. Whether you're looking for live music, community events, workshops, markets, art exhibits, or something fun to do around the city, there is plenty of happening in Kingston this week, so let's get into it. Starting off with Monday, the Central Branch Library is hosting Craft and Create from 6 to 7:30 p.m. If you're feeling competitive, trivia returns to both the Brass Pub and Something in the Water Brewing Company later that evening. Music lovers can enjoy Jazz Mondays at the RCHA Club featuring Dave Barton, while Cameron Wyatt continues his resident series at the Cove Inn. Over at the Broom Factory, local favorites Gizmo, Naked by Nine, and Lumpfish take the stage, and the Mourning Doves perform at Musiki Cafe. Tuesday offers a mix of community programming and live music. Thrive's 365 is hosting its Raccooning Walk Talk at the Indigenous Outdoor Gathering Space from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., while Daft Brewing's weekly Euchre Night gets underway in the evening. Music highlights include Tom Savage's Tuesday afternoon happy hour jam at the RCHA Club, Art Gurin and Megan Ballone at the Cove Inn. Overtime Sports Bar also hosts Grit and Grind Fest featuring Opal in the Sky, Fifth and Broken Side. On Wednesday, the Biosciences Complex hosts the Preferred Supplier Trade Show from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., while Thrive 365 presents Watercolor Flow, finding motivation and connection in Macintosh Quarry Hall. Teens can head to Rideau Heights branch for games and grub later in the afternoon. In the evening, you'll find plenty of ways to get involved around the city, including board game night at the Legion, karaoke at Timeout Bar, music trivia at Riverhead Brewing, and Euchre night at La Vida Bistro. Live music includes Carson Cameron at Bank Gastro Bar, Sean McCollin at the Cove Inn, Ruben de Groot as part of the Soundwaves concert series at Spicer's Dockside Grill, and open mic night at Hotel Wolf Island. Thursday starts with the Kingston Public Market in Springer Market Square running throughout the day. The Central Branch Library hosts 20-something Thursday trivia night in the evening, while Cruise for a Cause sets sail from Crawford Wharf. Queen's University's Thrive 365 series also presents Culture in Action, Storytelling, Anxiety, and Resilience with acclaimed author David A. Robinson. Music highlights include Lotus White at the Cove Inn, J.S. Miller on the Helm Dockside patio, Ted Lalonde at the Timeout Bar, Beats working at the RCHA Club, and the Good Brothers at the Broom Factory. Friday brings a packed lineup of arts, music, and community events. Cultivate Arts Common hosts meditation in the gallery with Jay Vidarthi in the morning, while the Isabel Turner branch celebrates summer with the library after-hours kickoff party for teens. The TED Center also welcomes artist-in-residence Jarena Lee for a studio exhibition and artist talk. Music fans can check out the opening day of the Power of Positivity Music Festival at Lion Spike Frontenac, while DevFest 2026 gets underway featuring artists including The Trues, The Strumbellas. Other highlights include Elvis Returns at the Sphere, Christopher Jackson at the Caesar Company, Big Smoke Brass at the RCHA Club, and Guilty Pleasures at Time Out Bar. Heading into Saturday, there is no shortage of things to do. The Kingston Public Market returns downtown, while the Sharbot Lake Farmers Market and Live at the Library featuring Zoo Crew offer family-friendly options. Pride Month celebrations continue with Books and Beans at the Central Branch Library, and the TED Center hosts its art-making workshop, Your Mark Echoing from Within. Music highlights include 2 of the Power Positivity Music Festivals featuring Casador, Harm and Ease, and Will and Company, as well as Deaf Fest 2026. You can also catch the BJX Bon Jovi experience at the Sphere, Long Range Hustle and Matt Basnett at the Broom Factory, the Big Fat Horn Band at the RCHA Club, and Ave of Wands at Hotel Wolf Island. Wrapping things up Sunday, the Memorial Center Farmers Market returns from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., while the Cataraqui Indigenous Market takes place at Confederation Park. If you're looking for something a little different, Puppies and Jazz combine adorable dogs and live music at the Caesar Company. Music lovers can enjoy the final day of the Power Positivity Festival featuring Rain Madda and Miss Emily. Head over heels at the Cove Inn and live music Sundays at Finkel Shore Park. That's your weekly events and concerts calendar for June 22nd through the 28th. For more information on any of these events, visit the CFRC website and keep it locked right here on CFRC 101.9 FM. This events calendar is brought to you by Flying V Productions, bringing live theater, comedy, and unforgettable entertainment to audiences across Kingston. Be sure to check out their upcoming shows and events throughout the season. I'm Jenny, and thanks for listening and have a great weekend.
Thank you for tuning in to CFRC's local news programming. To revisit episodes of Today in YGK and listen on the go, be sure to head to our podcast network at podcast.cfrc.ca. Today in YGK is brought to you by the generous support of the Community Radio Fund of Canada, the Local Journalism Initiative, Queen's University Career Services, and for our podcast, Smith Engineering at Queen's University. Be sure to stay tuned for more CFRC programming coming up next.
Thank you for listening to this podcast produced at CFRC 101.9 FM at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, situated on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples, and brought to you by the generous support of Smith Engineering.